Any guesses about what is growing all around me? No, it's not a weed, and no, it's not Johnson grass. It's miscanthus, a fibrous plant native to Asia. But we're here in Aurora, Missouri at Renew Biomass to learn all about this plant's possibilities in the pet food and renewable fuels industries. So Dustin, we're eventually going to start talking about all the pet food products behind us, but first we need to know about the products that go into that, and that's miscanthus and Renew Biomass. Going back to 2012, how did it all get started?
So in 2012, MFA Oil Company just decided that through their board farmer-owned cooperative that they wanted to bring value to marginal land in Southwest Missouri. And through a lot of research stumbled onto miscanthus and decided that it has the most offtake, the most tons per acre of any biomass. Fast forward, MFA Oil kind of got out of the business and we became autonomous, so we're now just Renew Biomass on our own. So we've been running that way since 2012.
So what made this land perfect for growing miscanthus?
Well, Southwest Missouri is marginal crop land. No matter how we see it now, thank goodness for other crops and the advancement in technology to allow crops to grow on the ground we have now, because 15, 20 years ago, we would have never considered Southwest Missouri any crop ground. But marginal meaning rocky, heavy clay soils, not as much rain necessary to make it grow. So miscanthus grows very well in those conditions. It doesn't require the nutritional ground that we see for other traditional crops.
Well, miscanthus, talk about this fibrous plant and what it looks like and the research that went into figuring out how it can be used in pet foods.
So yeah, in 2013, we started really focusing on the offtake of it, on what it looks like when we start harvesting it and taking it to market. And then we just continued to really focus on research. We partnered with Kansas State University out in Kansas, one of the two leading pet research universities, and started studying how miscanthus works, really showing what the fiber content looks like, how the animal digests the fiber, and what that means for the internal tract, the digestive tract for the animal. And we really came out with some amazing stuff.
Take me through the growing season. What time of the year is it planted? How long does it take before harvest, and when is harvest?
Okay, so miscanthus is a true perennial, just like other crops that a lot of farmers will plant. We plant it typically sometime in the summer. We harvest it differently than what most people think of when it comes to harvest. So we actually start our harvest sometime in late December, early January, and then run all the way through March. So we're actually harvesting miscanthus when the plant's completely dormant. And what we want is only the fiber part of the miscanthus, so all the rest of the nutrients are back into the ground, which also helps to sustain that crop, not just for the next year, but for years to come.
Miscanthus is a rhizome, so it's growing in these clumps and they're connecting underground, so that's really unique. So how is it all planted?
So miscanthus, it actually doesn't produce any sort of seed. So it doesn't reproduce that way. It only reproduces by the rhizomes. So that's the only way to plant it. And that's one of the things we talked earlier a little bit about, some of the original challenges that we had. You know, some farmers were concerned, is this just going to take over like Johnson grass?
Yeah.
But it's completely different than that. And one of the reasons it's different is it doesn't produce a sterile seed. It doesn't produce a flower or anything like that. So.
I want to know about those early conversations with farmers. How did you convince them to grow this, I'm going to be honest, this ugly crop that looks like something growing wild, and know that there is a long growing season and that didn't know where the end market was going to go?
Absolutely. So, you know, I really credit a lot of that to our history. As I said, we started out as a division, a wholly owned division of MFA Oil Company. I spent almost 10 years with the farmer-owned cooperative, 40,000 members, a farmer-ran board. So the board is what pushed the cooperative, the employees, the president, all of us, to find something to add additional value to our farm ground. So really riding on the coattails of MFA Oil Company, visiting with our farmers one-on-one across the kitchen table, in local cafes and in different areas, just sitting down and visiting with them, talking to them about the vision And we started out with a much smaller group than we have now, and that was the core focus, was how can we take this and expand it and grow it. But there was no easy way. I mean, there was a lot of vision. We were just casting big vision at that time, and they did. They trusted us because of who we were, and they knew a lot of these are generational farmers, have been working with our cooperative for generations, so they knew if all else fails, we had some backing.
It's really unique for farmers, and it's a great opportunity for them in this area, because since we do handle all aspects of it, their responsibility, of course, is to own the land, and then the fertility of the miscanthus, which again doesn't take a whole lot, and that's a unique and product for the farmers, and so that's something that they like to plant it. It adds to the diversity of the plant, and that's one of the reasons that we get a lot of interest in planting it, because for farmers, there's no more time in the day, and you always hear from farmers like, I just didn't have enough time to get everything done. So that's unique when it comes to miscanthus, is the fact that we handle all aspects of it and the harvesting, so it takes that time burden away from farmers.
And this was just cut in this last week, and then the next step after it's cut is bringing it into windrows and baling. But what type of equipment, I hear them firing up behind us, are used for miscanthus?
So that's one of the challenges that we looked at when you guys were looking at the stalk. If you look, that's a really thick, big stalk, not like
well,
you're gonna...
and it's a fibrous plant,
it's
so
a fibrous
tough.
plant, so yeah. So you can imagine the equipment to produce this isn't the normal tractor and baler that it is. So we've actually have to work with equipment companies. I did a lot of work with AGCO and helping to actually develop balers. They did R&D out here that actually handle this cane, because when it goes to tie a square bale, you know, if you have any of that cane up in the knot, it's just not going to make a knot, and that's not going to work for us.
Well, we talked about acreage and kind of tonnage earlier, but standing in front of this bale, you know, what's this bale weighing, and you know, what does this equal into the product? Kind of comparing.
Yeah, so a bale, we're shooting for that 1,200 pound range. So transportation is a big deal, getting it from the field to the manufacturing facility. So we really want to push bale weight. We're in that 1,200–1,300 pound range, and all the product that goes out is measured in pounds. So we talked about the number of acres, but we really see 20 to 30 million pounds harvested every year of this campus right here in our local area.
Because when you look at the acres, you're like, well, that's not a whole lot when you're thinking of your global footprint, but in tonnage, it is. So we've got the miscanthus growing in the fields, it's harvested. Let's talk about the further processing of it. How do you process it right here in the Ozarks to end up in pet food across the globe?
It spends time going through a processing facility, getting floured, much like wheat does, getting really, really finely floured, because when it goes into the pet food, it can't stand out amongst the other ingredients. And then we also pelletize it after that.
Well, let's talk about these products now. Some of these are familiar brands, others aren't. Of course, it's being shipped around the globe, but this is going into some high-end pet food.
It is. So we have, you'll find us in multiple of the top 10 pet food companies, all the way down to the small guys, mom and pop guys that really support dedicated retail.
Well, where can folks go to learn about miscanthus, M-fiber, and the products, with their hands on the products grown here?
Absolutely. So they can visit renewbiomass.com or mfiber.net. Stop by. We're right here in Aurora. Stop by anytime. We'd love to visit with you and show you some of the products and share our story with you.